back to another edition of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. I'm hoping I'm not having microphone problems here. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, look at this thing. It's everywhere. I'm going to hold on to the microphone. Okay. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back. We had a couple weeks off because of the holidays, because we tape on Fridays. So we're here in the new year, and I'm here, of course, with my good friend Paul Russo. How you doing, Paul?
Good, John. Happy New Year. Hope everything was well for you over our holiday break, if you want to call it that. So
yeah, free of the shovels, so to speak. So today we're going to talk about 2022 and maybe some goals we have for the year, and then we're going to talk about the weekend in football. We got the college football championship and week 18 of the NFL, which is always an interesting week because there's the have and the have-nots, and there's a lot of jockeying there with the lineups and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So before we do that, let's do what we always do and update the old bankroll here. And, there we go. I'm ahead of myself. There we are, updating my bankroll. Last week's starting bankroll, $235. This is actually from 2 weeks ago. I had Green Bay, Baltimore over 43.5. That was an easy winner. I think the final score of that game was 31-30. And that was plus $7 to the bankroll. Plus one to the count. I think the over-under closed at like 45 or 46. And then we had Michigan money line on New Year's Eve, plus 250. That was a loser. I have to say, seeing Jim Harbaugh trying to establish the run.
Yeah.
Late in this first half, down 17, really had me disappointed. But I'm giving myself a -1 for that. I had the closing line beat for the longest time, and then right up before the game started, Michigan went to plus 270 for some reason. So somebody knew something. I don't know what it was, but Georgia looked much better, I have to admit. If you do the math, that's a loss of $1 to the bankroll. It was -$8 on the Michigan bet. Makes the new bankroll $234. Bet size dividing by 30, as we always do, makes the bet size, again, $8 going forward. And our count remains at plus 14 for the football season, with basically just a couple weeks left. So we're doing good in finding value with our wagers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, as I try to, here we go, talk a little bit about 2022 as we go forth in the new year, and what worked in 2021. And for me, the key word for 2021 was probably futures. I had a future bet I won on the World Series. I had futures I won on the MLS Cup. I won several NASCAR races and several Formula One races. Those are technically futures bets, even though it's like if you pick a golfer to win a golf tournament on a Sunday, that's technically a futures bet. So I have live tickets on the college football championship, live tickets on the Super Bowl. That worked well for me. And what was the biggest challenge of the year? For me, obviously, it was COVID. There was a lot of this year especially was not a good year for modelers because the second half of the year, especially during football season, was greatly related to COVID issues and who's playing, who's not, who's suspended, who's not, injury news. These are things that no modeling can prepare you for. So I feel like that was a huge challenge. Having a year off from like CFL, who I like very much, another league that I was able to hedge a future for profit. They had a year off, and they came back, and it was a much more defensive league than it had been in years past. So that was my biggest challenge. So goals for the year, I have these written down, and then we'll discuss, between both of us.
Yeah.
So goals for 2022. New studio, We're going to have a new studio sometime in the spring. Very excited about that. Give us a lot more room to do things, new equipment. Hopefully more guests. I think I say that every year, and I get too busy. I'm going to try to make more time to set that up. There's a few really interesting people that I'd like to have on this year. Futures Focus, I feel like we should dedicate a section of the show to just talking about futures and impacts that there might be. I feel like there's a lot of value. You can get a lot of value and a lot of potential profit with a very small futures bet. And there's times when you say, hey, it might be worth $5 or $10 to plop this down. And, so I think we should talk about that more.
Yeah.
And, of course, we're going to talk about mobile betting. For those of you that are not from New York, here in New York, we're going to start mobile betting this Saturday. There's going to be 9 companies total that are going to offer online sports betting. So you can do from your phone or from your computer. And we're going to go through the different apps one by one and review them, unbiased, unpaid, no endorsements, what we like and what we don't like about them. We'll definitely start talking more about that next week. So this is the first apps are supposed to launch this Saturday.
Yep, 9 a.m. I believe, right?
Yeah, if things go to plan,
right.
Which they never do.
No.
And then finally, my personal goal for this year is to write my first sports betting book. I have a really solid plan in place for something that can help a beginning sports bettor and take them from what I would say the 90% to become take them from being a losing sports bettor to being a non-losing sports bettor. I'm not saying I can take them from being a losing sports bettor to making a living off sports betting. I'm saying that there's a specific plan that I have that I believe will get people to become non-losers. So they're either break even or profitable. And it's worked for me, and I'm going to share that with the public, and hopefully that will be in a good form for people to read. And I'm very excited to do that. That's my number one goal for the year. So I'm going to put us both on the screen here. So what are your goals for 2022?
Yeah, I mean, 2022 for me anyway is, I mentioned a little bit to you earlier, but, for me personally, do a better job of tracking my bets. It's something that I have not done well over the course of the past couple of years as much as I'd like. So doing that, at the moment I have a little it's a notebook, but I have it set up to be kind of like a ledger almost, borderline. And just so I can follow along better and keep track of myself better and stuff like that. So that would probably be my main goal, personally speaking. Just do a better job of tracking myself, tracking kind of where I, am trending on my own even, and kind of seeing, maybe some of the teams that I prefer betting maybe with or betting against, and seeing how those actually trend out and stuff like that.
So I would say there are apps. I'm not going to recommend anything because nobody pays me to. But there are a couple of apps in the Apple Store or the Play Store that I think are good. You can also, if you have a Google account, you can set up a Google sheet with your bets.
Yeah.
And I would recommend, even though it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, to write down the closing line for every one of your bets.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that with a future. You can't really do that. But with a bet on a game, the closing line was 43 over under, or the closing line was -6 or whatever. That way you can see what you're betting, and if the line moved, if you got a better number than the closing line, or if it moved against you or whatever.
Right.
Just, sometimes you're never going to beat the closing line every time. It's not going to happen. There's just too many unknowns. But at some point, the reason I say write it down now is at some point you're going to want that information. Right. And you're going to say, hey, I wish I had kept that information.
Yeah.
So you can put that into a spreadsheet or something like that, or your notebook. Or, it's interesting. I listened to a podcast this week that Alan Boston was on, and he's an old-time sports bettor. He worked with Billy Walters, and he still does all his stuff in spiral notebooks, in dollar store notebooks. He bets college basketball, and he does everything by hand, team ratings, everything by hand. He calls himself an iconoclast.
Yeah.
But very interesting. So
Yeah.
there's lots of ways to keep records. But I went from writing it down to starting a spreadsheet, and now I use a specific app to record all my wagers.
Yeah.
I have it kind of at my fingertips, and I can see, what's going on. So everybody finds the way that works for them. So what do you think about this New York betting?
Yeah.
What are you plan on trying it out soon?
Yeah, I mean, I plan on jumping right in pretty much. I mean, I think I don't think maybe initially there will be too much, I guess, maybe difference is maybe not the best term, but I think maybe planning wise, it's not going to really differ from going to a physical casino and a physical sport book initially.
No.
I'm intrigued once we kind of get going down the line, I guess, kind of the differences not only between, say, a physical DraftKings outlet compared to their mobile outlet, but then the outlets among themselves, whether it is DraftKings to FanDuel to Caesars to Rivers to MGM, that in that realm, because obviously at that point the market becomes a lot more closer in that sense how you're competing. You mentioned with going back to like the tracking, having it right at your fingertips. You'll have 9 different options in theory right at your fingertips. If you don't like what one book is offering on a game, you can go to the other book right away.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
We just talked earlier about we were looking at Super Bowl futures, and I looked at Bet Rivers last night, and the Chargers were 50-1, and on DraftKings they were 40-1.
Right.
So you have that line shopping aspect, which is huge, because for those of us, we are limited by geography.
Right.
We have a casino sports book right here in our backyard, but we're at least an hour away from everything else.
Right.
So it does change the game. I still, in my heart of hearts, I still would like to see them put kiosks in the OTBs. I feel like that would be, that would give us another option. I'm a little partial to the kiosks because I like the anonymity. Because when you bet online, they know exactly who you are, what your IP address is, and what you're betting and all that kind of stuff. So for the casual bettor, that's not going to make a difference.
No.
But for anybody that takes it seriously, you have to approach this very judiciously.
Yeah, I know, and that's something we kind of again discussed a little bit before, was how lately, full disclosure, I have been finding a good footing within the SWAC for college basketball right now, and it is pretty much very one-sided against teams that I'm betting against consistently, and like you said, you're going to create a footprint for yourself on these apps sooner or later. They're going to find your trends, and they're going to end up dictating kind of how you're going to end up leaning. Whereas you bring up a very good point. If you go to a kiosk, whether it is at Del Lago with DraftKings or say one of the Turning Stone ones with Caesars, they have to offer the same thing for everybody at those. The anonymity of it allows for that.
At least up to a certain point.
Right. So I guess in that sense, maybe it is good that you're going to have different options that you can kind of maybe bounce back and forth between.
You can always, if you want to, we're talking second level here.
Right.
And a casual bettor, this won't matter.
No.
But you can, if you're a heavy-duty SWAC bettor,
the Conference of Champions.
There you go. You can, rotate your bets among the different apps.
Yeah.
Keep you kind of under the radar. Or even cut your bet into smaller pieces.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a lot more about that, and we're going to review the apps one by one. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it's a year, I think, that hopefully we can emerge with sports. We had a year with empty stadiums, and then we had a year with player uncertainty.
Yep.
Who's in, who's out, and now the NHL has taken the players out of the Olympics because they need to make up all the games they missed.
Right.
So hopefully this year we move along to a little bit of sports normalcy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. So very excited about the year ahead, and of course, we're always optimistic at the beginning of the year. So let's move along to the NFL, and I'm going to put up the lines here. All right, Chiefs at Broncos on Saturday. Broncos 10.5, 45. If you have any thoughts, just jump in on any of this. 40. I don't know. I mean, I don't think the Broncos are going to score 10 points in this game. Do you think the Chiefs are going to score 35?
Yeah, I mean the struggle here is if the Chiefs do get to a point, it's something that me and Nick did talk about Tuesday night on our podcast. Was admittedly in the NFL you don't see a ton of like the outright resting of games anymore, outside of a few circumstances, with the Chiefs being one of them. What you do end up seeing though is, especially in these last week scenarios, if you get to a certain point, that's when you usually see a lot of like the subs, particularly at quarterback, happen. And that game's going to be tough. I mean, obviously the Broncos alone with Drew Lock, they will justifiably struggle. I'm with you. It's hard for me to picture them getting north of 10 points.
Obviously their strongest point, at least on the offensive side of the ball, is the running game.
Oh, for sure.
So, I mean, they would want to slow the game down. And if, Mahomes does sit, which, Andy Reid has been there's been a few games where they've been blowing teams out and he's left them in.
Yeah.
And as if I were an opposing coach, I would have that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's going to sit. So I don't know. I think the under is a play there maybe, but that game really doesn't excite me too much. All right, next game is the Cowboys at the Eagles. Eagles getting 4.5, 43.5. Both of these teams are locked into a playoff berth. There is maybe positioning at stake for both the Eagles and the Cowboys. 43.5 is the total. Normally I would say go over that, but it's going to be a rainy day in Philly. Michael Gallup is out.
Yeah.
And Pollard is questionable.
Yeah. Dallas, too. I mean, look, there might be a little bit of bias here based on what happened with Washington a couple of weeks ago, but Dallas has not excited me, though, overall offensively the past couple of weeks for whatever reason.
Dallas is it's interesting. Dallas is a team that seems to really struggle when they're behind.
Right, yeah.
It's all gravy when they're
ahead. And another key thing with them too is defensively they have become very boom or bust in a lot of situations.
A lot of it has to do with the quality of the offense they're playing. I mean, they played the Cardinals, which has a very good offense, and they got smoked. So if they're going to face the Rams, they're going to face the Cardinals.
Yeah.
They're going to face I don't know about the Niners so much, but I could see them beating a team like the Saints in the playoffs.
Right.
But if they face a really good offense, it's going to be a tough game for them. Anyway, I don't like the weather.
No.
Hurts is going to play, so I don't like the over there. But I kind of do like the Eagles.
Yeah, I was about to say that the 4.5 is really intriguing on the Eagles.
This game really intrigues me, but I'm not going to risk any money on it. Packers at Lions. Lions plus 3.5 at home. 45 is the total. Packers have absolutely nothing to play for.
No.
They have no reason to play Aaron Rodgers. And if he really does have a bionic toe or whatever his problem is, he needs to take the week off.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened when Jordan Love started. They only put, I think, 13 points on the board or something. Very, not a lot of. I think the Lions are a live team here.
Yeah.
Jared Goff is going to play.
All right.
And they have a lot more to play for than the Packers do.
This is going to be, you talk about controlling the game. This is probably going to end up being a very run heavy offense, more than likely for the Packers, especially if they do go the full-fledged Jordan Love route on it. And like you said, I mean, Detroit, they have been a fairly lively team here, especially recently.
I would like to see more than 3.5.
Yeah. That just that enters the fray of the swing one possession games where one way it's going 3, but the other way it's coming back 4, which doesn't excite me at all either. So
So assuming Rodgers doesn't play, I think that game is going to be on my short list. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Colts at Jaguars, interesting game. The Colts have traditionally, if you go down Narrative Street, the Colts have struggled in Jacksonville. I think they're like 0-6 in their last 6 or something like that.
It's weird.
But Jags are getting 15, and that's a lot of points.
Yeah.
But they played so bad last week. And the Colts need this to get in the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't know what to make of this game.
It's very telling because also you have the situation here. The over-under is at 44, so pretty much they're telling you, right, in theory, they're kind of banking this thing kind of being somewhere in that like 21 to, or not 21, but
30 to 15.
Yeah, somewhere in that weird range, and that is certainly possible. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence finally reached the end zone for the first time in 2 months last week.
Yeah.
If there's a positive ever to find there.
Well, once again, it goes back to the thing about the NFL as a parity league.
Yeah.
And, again, narrative here.
Yeah.
But teams usually bounce back towards the average.
Yeah.
So if a team has an exceptionally good week, they usually bounce back towards the median.
Yeah.
If a team has an exceptionally bad week, like the Houston Texans are very guilty of this.
Yes.
They'll get blown out by 30 points. The next week they'll either win or cover or whatever. And it's, once again, it's motivation. The Jags, are they just playing out the string and just don't care?
Right.
They're like, we're a dumpster fire and we're going to wear it proudly. Or are they going to be like, we're going to show you what we got before the season's out? I don't know. I think they would love to send the Colts home again, Narrative Street.
Right.
But I can't bet on that game. I can't touch it.
I don't know. It's at the 15. That one's definitely for me personally probably sit and wait. I mean, I struggle with the NFL when I see anything more than 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it used to be. There was a historical time.
Yeah.
Before the last 4 years or so.
Yeah.
They tracked from the early 2000s that when a team was a double-digit dog, it was 14 or more that they covered like 60-something% of the time. Not so much anymore.
Yeah, now that's back to being about 500.
So have they officially renamed the Washington football team?
So February 2nd is the official date that they're announcing it.
The Washington Punxsutawney's?
I mean, personally speaking, I'd like to see Armada, but I don't think that's going to fully happen. It depends what conspiracy theory you want to believe.
Okay. Well, the football team is at the Giants. Giants getting 7 with no good choice at quarterback, 37.5.
Yeah.
They gave up several turnovers against the Bears, so they got over against the Bears. I don't know about this week.
Yeah, you'll be relying a lot on Washington on that over-under in this situation, and something I've been pounding the drum on, and I know at least in the Washington fan circles, they're realizing that Heineke is a backup for a reason in the grand scheme of things, or the past couple weeks.
I do have to say that he got paid like a backup. He didn't get paid like a starter. So I don't think you can be too upset with
that. No, but yeah, I mean, this goes against, a personal narrative of mine. Anytime you see Mike Glennon, you always, go the opposite direction. But yeah, that 37.5, you'll be relying on a Washington offense that
hasn't shown up.
Well, yeah, I mean, they'll get some points up on the board for sure. I mean, it's nice having a kicker for a change, but yeah, if there's a play to be had in this game, it's probably just standing on Washington, minus the 7, even if that's a stretch, that's probably the safer of the 2 options.
All right, let's move on. Bears at the Vikings. Justin Field was named the starter and then added to the COVID-19 list the same day.
2021. Or 2022, I guess, in this situation.
Well, technically it's still the 2021 season.
Yeah.
So. Vikings minus 5.5. Kirk Cousins will play, 43.5. Dalvin Cook got shut down last week because they didn't really have any passing option.
Right.
That, with Cousins in the game, that opens things up. I do like the Vikings here. I don't. The Red Rocket. They got 20-something points last week. The Vikings have given up points this year. I think that they'll score points. I don't know. I don't like this game enough to bet the over. Either way, So this game, I do like the Vikings, though. I think that makes my short list. Bengals at the Browns. Now, this game really intrigues me because the Browns are -6 at home.
Yeah.
Total is 38. Joe Burrow is not going to play. From what I've read, it looks like Jamar Chase is going to play.
Yeah.
It looks like Joe Mixon is going to play. I am not, on the top of my head, I cannot remember who the backup is in Cincinnati, but
it's Brandon Allen, I
yeah.
think.
I was going to say Adams for some reason, but I think he's a poker player. So, but, Baker Mayfield he's been playing hurt.
He's out.
Yeah. And Case Keenum is the backup?
Yeah, Case Keenum.
I think, giving up 6 here is, I feel like the Bengals is the play here. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's tough because it kind of goes back to my theory of not liking backups in general in situations like this. I guess really, looking at this game, it's going to come down to a personal preference on the side of the Browns. When push comes to shove, as we've seen over the past couple weeks, would you rather have a 100% Case Keenum or, and I don't know what the exact percentage is on the hurt scale here for Baker Mayfield, but we'll call it like 75% Baker Mayfield. It's a toss-up at that point, I guess, in an essence, in terms of Keenum.
This is motivation and narrative street.
Yeah.
There are 4 teams in the AFC alive for the number 1 seed,
right,
including Cincinnati.
Yeah. So
the Bills are not, but New England somehow is.
Yeah.
If New England wins and like 4 other teams lose, they get the number 1 seed. It's crazy.
It's a weird scenario. I think the Bengals obviously are playing the long game in this situation. They don't want Joe because Burrow has been dealing with the thumb injury as well as I think it's a knee injury of some sort. Yeah. So they're just more or less playing the would you rather have a full week of rest for the whole team or your de facto best player.
Well, I think they're
be healthy.
Playing the odds that the Titans are going to take care of business against Houston, and why risk it? But my point being is the Bengals are just not going to lay over.
No, they're not going to.
Yeah, I can see this being this kind of I don't give a flip game where it's going to be like 13-10 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, 6. I'm with you though. 6 is an awful lot to be giving up, no matter what. If you're the Browns in this situation, obviously,
you're going to have without Burrow in the game.
Yeah,
you're going to have 2 teams where their strength is running.
Right,
which means a reduced score, lower number of possessions, and you're giving up 6. That makes the 6 worth a lot more than it would be if it was the Chargers and the Falcons.
Exactly. Yeah.
So. All right, let's move on to the next one. We're getting through these. Titans at the Texans. Texans getting 10 at home, the Davis Mills experience. 42.5. Of course, the Titans clinch number 1 seed. And Derrick Henry will be available for the playoffs.
Yep.
But he will not be available for this game. So what do you think about that one?
I actually like the Texans here plus 10. Hey, the fighting Davis Mills. I mean, he has been playing actually better to the naked eye the past couple of weeks. So a lot of credit to him for improving over the season and stuff like that. But going back to earlier in the year, this Texan team, you talk about obviously with the covers and everything like that. And, the Titans had a very big win over the Dolphins last week. Maybe collectively not a firing on all cylinders type of win. Maybe it was a little bit more the Dolphins couldn't get out of their own way half the time. Yeah. Type situation, but I personally speaking, just the way the Texans have been playing, I do think the Titans will probably just win outright, but 10 to me is an awful lot to be giving up to a Texans team that has shown some improvement over the past couple weeks.
I think we should start calling Davis Mills General Davis Mills so we can call him General Mills.
Yeah.
But the Texans, David Johnson's back.
Yep.
I don't know. It seems like it's always been their offense. Like if their offense can put up that 20, if they break that 20-point threshold,
Yeah.
the game is very competitive. If they're stuck below like 13 points, the game is not competitive. So it should be an interesting game. But hopefully they don't make it easy for the Titans.
Right.
All right, Steelers at Ravens. Ravens -4, 41.5. The Steelers need Jacksonville to win, and they need to beat the Ravens to get in the playoffs. So I assume that they're going to go the Ravens defense. I mean, obviously Steelers Ravens games are always tend to be low scoring, but the Ravens defense is not as good as it's been in years past. And I feel like even if the Steelers go down 20 points in this game, they're going to try to extend the game to try to at least give themselves a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and your fallback too on that, I guess, to a degree, is this allegedly Ben Roethlisberger's actual last game at that point?
Yeah, but I mean, they're still gonna. I think Tomlin is gonna coach like it's basically a playoff game.
Yeah,
so, I feel like over 41, especially if it drops to 41 and a half, I don't like so much.
Yeah,
41 I like.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one because obviously you mentioned the Ravens defense. But it's not like Pittsburgh has exactly lit the world on fire either.
No. Now, it is supposed to be 40s and rainy in Baltimore. That doesn't necessarily mean like a pouring, but showers.
Kind of like one of those miserable type environments.
Yeah. So it's not going to be a snow game.
No.
But, all right, Saints at Falcons. Falcons +3.5. 39.5. Of course, the Saints seem to have trouble scoring points with Taysom Hill at quarterback. However, this game is very interesting to me because the Saints can make the playoffs with a win, and if the 49ers lose to the Rams, which is very possible. So Falcons games have a tendency to go in the 20s on both sides.
Yep.
So I really think the over is a play here.
Well, prime example, obviously, is look at last week in Buffalo. Not, tremendous conditions, and it ended up being a bit of a high-scoring affair to that end.
It did. It did. I feel like regardless of the outcome of this game, there's going to be, I think both teams will probably be 20 points.
Yeah.
So that makes it an over.
Yeah.
But I do like the Saints. If that was 3, I think I might take the Saints. Obviously, the Falcons don't have anything to play for other than to beat the Saints, who they don't like very much. But
yeah, that 3.5 enters the territory that I mentioned with the Packers and Lions at that point, where you have the decided one possession game potentially there at the end. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the over. I mean, especially if it's sitting kind of where it's at right now at the 39.5. Yeah, I'm with you. 20 seems pretty attainable for both teams. Whether that's whether that's 3 outright touchdowns for them or not.
The Saints have a good rushing defense.
Yeah.
And the Falcons like to throw the ball, so that screams over. Jets at the Bills. Bills -16, 41. I actually, I kind of actually I think this is a good cover play for the Jets.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to bet anything on it. I mean, Buffalo got a ton of snow this week. I'm sure it'll all be cleared out by the game time, but there's not much reason. I mean, the Jets are playing, I would say, what I would call inspired football.
Yeah.
Like they play for their coach and they play competitive games.
Yeah.
But they just don't have the horses.
No, yeah. I mean, they got a couple guys back, like Michael Carter came back from injury, and he has been playing good the past week that he's been back pretty much. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna have all the horses to keep up with Buffalo, and Buffalo. They're going to be probably gunning to try and make some noise heading into the playoffs anyway. I think they do have positioning available, though, if I recall right.
Yeah,
so
the Bills can go – I think they can go as high as number 2
if things fall
their
right.
way.
Yeah, so –
but they could actually also fall as low as number 6.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I don't think I'm gonna really touch anything on this game wise outside of if there's a player prop somehow available that I really love. But other than that, I'm not too thrilled with it.
Panthers at the Bucks. Bucks -8, 41.5. I noticed that the Buccaneers Super Bowl futures went up.
Yes.
After this Antonio Brown thing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy because he was never a big cog in their wheel. I feel like that makes them more attractive as a Super Bowl play. I did not believe that they would be able to go on 3 consecutive road games to get to the Super Bowl last year, and they did.
Yeah.
And that I suffered financially because of that. But this game, again, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for Carolina. That game is going to be ugly.
Yeah. I screenshotted the stat grab on ESPN's app a couple weeks ago when they played of the leaders on offense, where Tampa Bay, it's Brady, obviously, and I forget which running back at the time, but you have Antonio Brown at the time, who was the leading receiving for the Bucs. And then on the Panthers side, Sam Darnold's the leading passer, Cam Newton's the leading rusher. And I was just like looking at him like, yeah, who would have thought in 2019 this would be where we're at?
Yeah.
That's irregardless. In this game, though, I do actually like the over again, even though I got burned by it a couple weeks ago. I just think, Tampa Bay is probably going to, again, kind of come out with a little bit of a watch what we can do type scenario here. And, I think that defense is liable to give up points anyway.
They played a very uninspired game against the Jets.
Right.
I once again, I would point out that 41 is a much better number than 41.5. Right. That's a key number for over. So Patriots at the Dolphins. The Dolphins getting 6, 39.5. I very rarely would lay a road favorite, but the Patriots -6. Patriots have everything to play for. The Dolphins have nothing to play for.
No.
And I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins rested some of their players.
Yeah, especially after the way last week went for them. It's going to be tough for them. I don't. I am a Brian Flores fan. I do like the way he coaches.
He's a good coach.
But I don't know what he can draw out of the players coming in this week to make it worthwhile for them to put up any kind of fight, to be honest. So I'm with you. I think the Patriots, as long as that line kind of stays below the 7 mark, would be a great play.
Yes, I agree. I think that's your game that is the most just a straightforward play. There's really no reason to look much deeper into it.
No.
Seahawks at Cardinals. This game is probably the only under I like this week. Cardinals -6.5. They do have an outside shot at the division, but the 49ers would have to beat the Rams in LA. The Seahawks played really well last week, so I feel like they'll go a little bit back to earth, but 48's a lot of points.
Yeah.
For a Week 18 game. I think it's going to be under. Especially
with, really be fair, a Seahawks offense that you really just don't know what you're going to get week in and week out still.
I mean, they're not going to put up.
Excuse me. Yeah.
They put up 30-something points last week.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen again.
No. Especially against even though it is a little bit of a dinged up Cardinals defense, that defense is still going to probably hold them pretty well in place.
So finally, we have the Chargers and the Raiders on Sunday night. For that game, the winner gets a playoff spot.
Yep.
Unless it ends in a tie, then there's some crazy scenarios. But Raiders +3 at home, 49.5. I think that I would lean towards the under there because I think the coaches are going to be conservative.
Right.
I know Staley likes to go for it on fourth down. I have a feeling you're not going to see him go for fourth down on his own 30-yard line.
No. I would hope not anyway.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I think the Raiders are live dogs here. I really do at home.
It's tough because the Chargers have turned into a team. It's weird how both LA teams give me this vibe, how you don't know what version of them you're actually going to really get each week.
Neither one has the consistency.
Yeah. And I chuckled because Smart got one of those push notifications like, is Derek Carr's legacy on the line this weekend? And I don't know about legacy with a guy like Derek Carr in essence, but that being said,
he wants to be a Raider.
Yeah, the Raiders do have, in my mind, kind of more to play for in the grand scheme of things than say the Chargers do.
Well, I mean they're both playing for. It's basically a play-in game.
Right. But I guess my logic is right. Like if you're the Chargers, you know that you can kind of only go up still from here to a degree.
Yeah. So the Raiders, after all they've been through this year with the coach, the emails, the coach getting fired or quitting, or I don't know what,
and the player, the numerous player situations that they have had,
the numerous DWIs, and they've had COVID issues, and players come back from addiction, and they're like, F it.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, let's go out and play.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure on the Raiders here. Yeah. I feel like that they're a live dog.
I think a good example is just looking back to last week of how they played against the Colts, especially in my mind the final drive. I mean, Derek Carr just kind of let it all hang out there for a drive, and it was fun to see that version of Derek Carr again.
I'm really impressed with Zay Jones this year, his former Buffalo Bill. He had some tough off the field issues, and he's doing pretty well. I'm happy for him. All right, college football playoff. Georgia, Alabama, Monday night. Alabama getting 2.5 points. 52 is the total.
Yep.
What do you got for me?
So, again, the naked eye tells me Alabama all day, but it's been intriguing kind of seeing how not only the money line but also the spread has also shifted over the course of really the past week now. I think, last time I checked, the money line on Alabama went from, 120 to 125, which is interesting. It's just tough for me because at the end of the day, still, Georgia has not left me impressed the second half of the year. They're still starting a backup quarterback at the end of the day. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things like, in the NFL, you kind of look at it like, do you always don't bet against Brady? In college, it's you don't bet against Saban.
Yeah. Well, I do. I think I think the play is different in this game. That I'm on Alabama. My college football future is riding on an Alabama win.
And I'm with you. I have Alabama as a future bet as well in this situation.
So last week when I hedged, or 2 weeks ago, or whenever before the holidays.
Yeah.
Alabama was plus 120 to win it all, and Georgia was plus 140.
Yeah.
And that has totally flipped.
Yeah.
And I've heard narratives that are crazy about how Georgia wanted to help get both teams into the playoffs, and it doesn't make any sense at all.
Right.
And I think the play here is the over. Again, I've been talking overs all day. But what was it? 45 to 29 or something like that last time? At 52, it seems like a pretty easy number.
Especially the way the semifinal games ended up really playing out.
Yeah. I mean, even Cincinnati, who was really known to have a good defense, and I mean that game still went to 47 points or something along those lines.
Yeah.
What was it? 29 to 17 or something like that. But that's only a touchdown away from 52.
Right.
And Georgia could have easily rolled up the score on Michigan, but they stuck to the ground. And I feel like the over's the play here. I'm rooting for Alabama for my future, my financial future, and my football future. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, let's get to the picks. And here's what I got for you. I'm taking the Saints and the Falcons over 39.5. That seems like a no-brainer to me, and I'm going to take Alabama and Georgia over 52 minus 105. I feel like that's a good number. I think like anything under 54, 55, I think is a good number there. Hopefully maybe it'll go down a tick before Monday.
Yep.
51 is obviously a much better number than 52.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you got? Anything?
Yeah, so New Orleans, Atlanta, I'm going to take the over on that game. Obviously the reasons we kind of discussed. And yeah, I'm gonna take the over on Uga and Bama, and look, I don't know. It's just tough to go against Saban.
Yeah,
it's tough to go against Saban.
I'm very, it's interesting because most years in the last few years I haven't really been interested in the national championship. I always watch it.
Yeah.
Especially like I'm not a Clemson fan, and they've been in it so much.
Yeah.
So even though it is Alabama Georgia rematch, I'm actually kind of excited for it. So I think I'm going to sprinkle a little on the over there and see what happens. So, all right. So next week we're going to talk mobile betting.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that, and we'll have a little of personal experience to talk about. So With that, let's play the outro music, and we'll see you next week, folks. Thank you very much. Let's go get some winners.
Yeah.